My name is Bethany Cole. I'm 45 years old. At 9:17 on a Monday morning, my brother stood in the conference room of Cole Family Furniture, staring at a frozen computer screen and said, "Can somebody call a real IT person?" My foster son was standing right beside him, not in the corner, not somewhere outside the room, beside him. 22 years old, quiet, clean-cut, wearing a navy button-down, dark jeans, and the same careful expression he wore at 16 when my family told him he could take the picture, but he could not be in it. His name was Marcus Reed. He had lived in my house since he was 11. He had sat at my dinner table, slept under my roof, helped shovel my driveway, fixed my old printer, taught my niece how to use a tablet, carried folding chairs at family events, and remembered my mother's birthday more reliably than her biological grandchildren did. But to my family, he had always been introduced with a pause. "This is Bethany's foster son." Not son, foster son. That one word had been used like a fence for 11 years. And now my brother wanted a real IT person, while the only person in the building who understood the system was the boy he had spent half his life refusing to call real family. The crisis had started at 8:03. Cole Family Furniture was not a huge corporation. It was a 3-store regional business my grandfather started in 1968, back when people bought dining tables once and expected them to last longer than some marriages. We sold sofas, bedroom sets, recliners, custom wood pieces, mattresses, and the kind of solid oak cabinets younger people either called timeless or too heavy, depending on how many stairs their apartment had. My father ran it after Grandpa retired. Then my brothers, Daniel and Patrick, took over operations when Dad's health declined. I handled bookkeeping part-time for years, while raising Marcus and working as a school administrator. My sister Vanessa managed marketing when she felt like it, which mostly meant posting staged photos of her living room and calling it brand strategy. My mother Elaine still treated the business as the family crown, even though she had not balanced a ledger since the 90s. By that Monday morning, everything had stopped. The point-of-sale system would not open. Inventory numbers were missing. Delivery routes were scrambled. Customer deposits were not showing. Vendor invoices were inaccessible. Payroll was due by noon. The warehouse tablets were locked out. The online ordering system had displayed a maintenance error all weekend, but Daniel ignored it because, in his words, tech people always exaggerate. Then the system froze completely. A sale that had taken 3 generations to build was about to fall apart in public because no one could access which customers had paid, which orders had shipped, which deposits were pending, and which deliveries were supposed to leave that morning. Customers were already calling. 2 delivery drivers were sitting outside with loaded trucks, waiting for route confirmations. The finance manager was near tears. The store manager from our West location had called 3 times, asking whether she should write receipts by hand. And my brother Daniel, who once refused to print Marcus a Christmas place card because we don't want to confuse the family tree, looked at him and said, "Can somebody call a real IT person?" Marcus did not flinch. That hurt me more than if he had. Because flinching would have meant surprise. He was not surprised. My family had spent years teaching him exactly where they thought he stood. I was the one who flinched. "Daniel," I said. He turned toward me like I was being inconvenient. "What?" "You're talking to the only person in this room who might be able to help." Patrick, my younger brother, scoffed. "Marcus builds websites, Beth. This is a business system." Marcus said quietly, "I'm a systems engineer." Patrick blinked. Vanessa looked up from her phone. My mother frowned. "When did that happen?" Marcus looked at her. "Over the last 4 years." 4 years, during which he graduated with honors, earned certifications, worked nights for a managed services company, helped migrate 2 medical offices to cloud backup, recovered data after a law firm server failure, built custom inventory dashboards for a warehouse client, and answered every family tech question for free while they still called him Bethany's foster kid. My father was not in the room. He was at home recovering from a minor stroke, and thank God for that, because seeing the business frozen like that would have terrified him. He had asked me to stop by that morning to check on payroll, because Daniel had been too busy to return my calls. I brought Marcus because we were supposed to have breakfast afterward. He was in town for a few days between projects, and I had asked if he wanted to see the new warehouse expansion. I thought maybe, foolishly, my family might finally see him clearly if they saw the man he had become. Instead, they saw a convenient target in a navy shirt. The main server screen flashed again. Error. Database connection failed. The finance manager, Kim, whispered, "If payroll doesn't go out today, people are going to panic." Daniel rubbed his forehead. "Call the vendor." Kim said, "I did. They said our support contract expired 6 months ago." Everyone turned to Daniel. He looked annoyed. "We were reviewing options." I said, "You mean you didn't renew it?" He snapped, "Now is not the time." Marcus stepped closer to the screen, not touching anything. "Has anyone made changes to the server or network over the weekend?" Patrick said, "No." The warehouse manager, Luis, cleared his throat. "Actually, Daniel's consultant came Friday night." My head turned slowly. "What consultant?" Daniel glared at Luis. Luis looked uncomfortable but continued. "The guy from Summit Tech. He installed that remote access thing Daniel approved." Marcus's face changed. Only slightly, but I knew him. That was focus. "What remote access thing?" he asked. Daniel said, "A modernization tool." Marcus looked at the error logs on the monitor. "What was his name?" Daniel waved a hand. "Tyler, something. He's helping us streamline." I closed my eyes. Streamline. A word people use before breaking systems they never bothered to understand. Marcus said, "Did he have administrative credentials?" Daniel hesitated. Patrick said, "Obviously. He was updating the system." Marcus turned toward me. "Bethany, I need permission from someone authorized before I touch this." Daniel laughed. "You need permission?" Marcus looked at him calmly. "Yes. Because unlike Tyler something, I do not access business systems without authorization." That sentence landed hard. Daniel's face reddened. I said, "Daniel, authorize him." Patrick crossed his arms. "We don't even know if he can fix it." Marcus picked up his laptop bag. "You're right, you don't. Call your vendor." Kim said, "They won't help without a reinstated support agreement and emergency fee. They estimated 2 business days before escalation." 2 business days. Payroll was due in less than 3 hours. Delivery failures would hit customers by lunch. The online store was already down. My mother, who had been silent too long, said, "Can you help or not, Marcus?" "No apology. No please. No son. Just need wrapped in authority." Marcus looked at me. Not at her. At me. That mattered. Because for years, when my family wanted access to him, they went through me. When they wanted his labor, they asked me to ask him. When they wanted him absent, they told me directly. He had learned not to accept belonging just because someone needed a password reset. I said softly, "Only if you want to." Daniel threw up his hands. "This is not a therapy session. The business is at risk." Marcus looked at him. "I know." "Then fix it." "No." The room froze. Marcus continued, voice even. "I will help if I am formally authorized, if all system changes from Friday are documented, if no one interferes while I work, and if Bethany is present for every conversation." Patrick rolled his eyes. "Are you serious?" "Yes." Daniel said, "This is family business." Marcus looked at him. "You've been telling me for 11 years that I'm not family." No one spoke. Not Daniel, not Patrick, not Vanessa, not my mother. The old sentence had finally returned to the room wearing grown-up shoes. Marcus opened his laptop. "So today," he said, "let's treat it like business." This is that story. Before I tell you how my family learned that the boy they excluded from family photos was the only person skilled enough to save the business with our name on the sign, tell me where you are watching or listening from, and what time it is there. I always wonder who hears stories like this while remembering the child, stepchild, foster child, adopted child, or outsider who was treated like temporary furniture until suddenly everyone needed what they became. And if y'all connect with stories about women who were dismissed, protective, underestimated, and quietly took their power back, like and subscribe to Ultimate Revenge. Some women do not beg families to include their children. Some women wait until the server crashes and let the child they rejected invoice them like a professional. I did not plan to become a foster mother. That is the truth. Some women know early that motherhood is the center of their future. I was never that clear. I loved children. I worked with children. I built my career around children, first as a teacher, then as an assistant principal. But my personal life had been quieter. A broken engagement at 31. A small house. A garden. A dog named Clover. A classroom full of other people's children who needed me from 7:45 to 3:30 and then went home. Then Marcus arrived. He was 11 years old, thin, watchful, too polite, carrying one black trash bag and one school backpack with a broken zipper. His caseworker, Diane, brought him to my house on a Thursday evening because his previous placement had fallen through suddenly. Just for the weekend, she said. Foster care has too many justs. Just for the weekend. Just temporary. Just until court. Just until the hearing. Just until the system finds a better match. Marcus stood in my entryway and asked, "Where should I put my stuff?" Not "Where is my room?" Not "Can I see the house?" Where should I put my stuff? As if he did not expect any space to belong to him long enough to unpack. I showed him the guest room. It had pale blue walls, a twin bed, a lamp, and a bookshelf mostly filled with old novels and extra school supplies. He stood in the doorway and looked at it like it might vanish. "You can put your clothes in the dresser," I said. "I don't have that many." "That's okay. Do I have to keep the door open?" "No." He looked at me sharply. "You can close it," I said. "If I need you, I'll knock." That was the first time his face changed. Not trust. Not yet. But attention. That first weekend became 2 weeks. Then 2 months. Then court delays. Then school stability. Then a case plan nobody could explain to a child without making promises adults might not keep. By the end of the first year, Marcus had stopped asking where to put his stuff. By the end of the second, I had stopped calling the room the guest room. It was Marcus's room. He liked computers before I understood how much. At 12, he fixed my school laptop by searching error codes more patiently than our district tech department. At 13, he took apart an old desktop someone donated to the school and rebuilt it into something that could run video editing software. At 14, he taught himself basic programming from free online courses and built a homework tracker that actually helped 3 of my students before the district blocked it because it was, quote, not approved. He was quiet, but his mind was not. His mind was fast, precise, and hungry. The symbolic object in this story was a small brass key, not to a house, to a desk drawer. When Marcus was 12, he asked if he could have a place to keep important papers. That phrase made me ache. Children should not have to sound like attorneys. I gave him the bottom drawer of the old oak desk in his room and found a little brass key on a ribbon. It barely worked, but it turned the lock if you jiggled it. He placed inside it his school certificates, court papers he did not fully understand, a photo of his younger sister who had been placed with relatives, a birthday card from me, and later, every report card. He wore the key around his neck for 6 months. My mother saw it at Thanksgiving and said, "What's that?" Marcus touched the ribbon. "My drawer key." Vanessa laughed lightly. "Very mysterious." I said, "Everyone deserves a private place." My mother gave me a look. The look that said I was being dramatic. That look became common after Marcus. The first family holiday with him should have told me everything. Thanksgiving at my parents' house. I brought sweet potatoes, green beans, and an anxious 11-year-old in a button-down shirt he had chosen himself because he asked what family dinner clothes meant. In the car, he said, "Do I call your parents Grandma and Grandpa?" My chest tightened. "You can call them Elaine and Robert for now, unless they tell you otherwise." "Okay." He looked out the window. "Do they know I'm foster?" "Yes." "Do they care?" I wanted to say no. Instead, I said, "They may not know how to act yet. That's not your fault." He nodded, already too familiar with adults not knowing how to act. My family was polite at first, painfully polite. Mom hugged me and patted Marcus's shoulder. Dad shook his hand. Daniel said, "Hey, buddy." Patrick asked if he liked football. Vanessa said, "He's cute," as if Marcus were a rescue puppy. At dinner, Mom had place cards. She loved place cards. White cardstock, gold trim, her careful cursive. Robert, Elaine, Daniel, Patrick, Vanessa, Bethany. The grandchildren. Spouses. No Marcus. I noticed before he did. I quietly took my own card and placed it beside him. "I'll sit here." Mom whispered, "Bethany, I didn't know where to put him." "At the table," I whispered back. She frowned. "Don't start." The phrase mothers use when daughters identify the problem before everyone has agreed to pretend it is not there. Marcus sat beside me and ate carefully, asking for nothing twice. After dinner, Vanessa arranged everyone for the annual family photo. She placed spouses, children, siblings, grandparents. Marcus stood beside me. Vanessa looked through the camera and paused. "Marcus, honey, would you mind taking the first one?" He froze. I said, "No, he's in the photo." Vanessa laughed. "Oh, I just meant we need someone to take it." "There's a timer." Daniel said, "Beth, don't make it awkward." I looked at him. She asked an 11-year-old to step out of a family photo. Mom said softly, "Well, he's new." Marcus stared at the carpet. I felt something rise in me that had not been there before, a mother's anger, not loud, not wild. "Pure," I said, "then the photo can be new too." He was in it, on the edge, but in it. I wish I could tell you that was the end of the exclusion. It was the beginning. Christmas came. My nieces and nephews had stockings with their names embroidered on them at Mom's house. Marcus had a small gift bag on the side table. I asked Mom privately why. She said, "I didn't want to assume he'd be here every year." "He's here this year." "Bethany, foster situations change. Children hear sentences like that even when you don't say them." She sighed. "You're too sensitive." No, I was finally sensitive enough. At Easter, the kids received matching baskets. Marcus got a chocolate rabbit still in the grocery bag because Mom forgot the count. At a summer barbecue, Patrick told a neighbor, "That's Bethany's foster kid," while Marcus was standing close enough to hear. At Dad's 70th birthday, Vanessa made a slideshow. Every grandchild appeared. Marcus did not. When I confronted her, she said, "I didn't have many pictures of him." I said, "You cropped him out of 3. She cried. Somehow I became the cruel one. That was the year I stopped attending every holiday. Not all, enough. Because love does not require presenting your child for repeated rejection just so adults can practice politeness. When Marcus was 14, he asked the question I had been dreading. "Am I family to you?" We were in the kitchen. He was fixing my printer again. I was making grilled cheese because some nights adulthood does not rise above grilled cheese. I turned off the stove. "Yes." He kept looking at the printer. "But not to them." I wanted to deny it. Instead, I sat beside him at the table. "Marcus, some people think family is only blood or paperwork. Some people get scared by anything that doesn't fit their chart. That is their limitation, not your value." He nodded. "They don't like when I'm in pictures." "I know. Why do you still make me go sometimes?" That question hurt because it was fair. I took a breath. Because I wanted them to change. He looked at me. "Did they?" "No." He said nothing. I said, "I'm sorry." He looked surprised. Adults apologize too rarely to children because we are afraid it will weaken us. It usually does the opposite. "I won't make you go anymore," I said. "You can choose." He nodded. "Okay." After that, Marcus chose selectively. He came to Dad's hospital visit after his first heart scare because he liked my father more than the others. Dad, to his credit, had softened over time. He never became demonstrative, but he asked Marcus real questions. About school, about computers, about whether the business needed some kind of online thing. He once slipped Marcus $50 for fixing his tablet and said, "Don't tell Bethany or she'll make a lesson out of it." Marcus told me immediately. Of course. Dad was complicated. So was Mom. She loved the idea of me being generous more than the reality of Marcus belonging. She bragged at church that I was fostering. "My Bethany has such a heart," she would say. But when the church directory family photo happened, she asked if Marcus could stand Bethany rather than with the grandchildren. I said, "Those are the same place." She did not agree. When Marcus turned 16, I began the process of permanent guardianship. His case had become one of those long, painful legal knots where reunification was not happening, adoption was complicated by family circumstances, and the system seemed content to let him age toward uncertainty. I asked Marcus what he wanted. Not what I wanted. Not what the caseworker preferred. What he wanted. He sat on the back steps holding Clover's leash and said, "I don't want a new last name if that makes my little sister think I left her." "Okay. But I want to stay. As long as you want." "Even after 18? I wanted to cry. "Yes, there is no checkout age in this house." He swallowed. "Then guardianship is okay." So we did it. Court order, papers. A judge who looked at Marcus and said, "You have a legal home here." Marcus held the brass drawer key in his pocket that day. After court, I took him for pancakes. My family sent congratulations texts, mostly to me. "Proud of your big heart. You're doing a wonderful thing. He's lucky to have you." I hated that last one. He was not lucky to need foster care. I was lucky to know him. At 18, Marcus graduated high school with honors. My family came. Late. But they came. After the ceremony, we took photos on the football field. Marcus stood in cap and gown, taller than me by then, smiling in that small, guarded way he still used around my relatives. Mom hugged him awkwardly and said, "We're proud of you, Marcus." He said, "Thank you, Elaine." I saw her flinch, not because he was rude, because he had never called her grandma. She had built that distance herself, and then seemed surprised it had furniture. Daniel gave him a handshake and said, "Computer stuff, right? Good field." Computer stuff. Marcus said, "Cybersecurity and systems engineering." Daniel nodded like he understood. He did not. Marcus earned scholarships, worked part-time, and studied harder than anyone I had ever seen. He did not drink much, did not waste money, did not trust praise easily. He called me every Sunday from college, sometimes for 5 minutes, sometimes for an hour. When he was stressed, he talked about technical problems instead of feelings. So I learned to hear database architecture as, "I'm overwhelmed." He came home for holidays when he wanted. We built our own traditions. Christmas Eve soup, New Year's Day pancakes, birthday pie instead of cake because he hated frosting. Every year, we took one family photo in front of our crooked little tree. Just us at first. Then us with his girlfriend when he dated. Then us with his college roommate once. Because the poor boy could not fly home during a storm. Our family photos were not perfect. They were honest. Marcus graduated at 22 and accepted a position with a cybersecurity consulting firm. Good salary, remote flexibility, real responsibility. He called me after signing the offer. "Bethany?" "Yes?" I got it. I sat down because my knees understood before my mind did. "Oh, Marcus. It's good." "I know. I mean really good." "I know." He was quiet, then said, "I wish people would stop saying you saved me." My throat tightened. What should they say? That we found each other. I cried after we hung up. Not because it sounded sweet, because it was true. The family business crisis came 6 months later. Cole Family Furniture had been struggling quietly. Not failing. Not yet. But outdated. Daniel believed history was a business plan. Patrick believed discount solved strategy. Vanessa believed Instagram could replace operational discipline. Dad's stroke had removed the last person who remembered how everything connected. Their inventory system was old. Their payment processing had been patched too many times. Their website was a decade behind. Their customer database lived partly in software, partly in spreadsheets, partly in the heads of 2 employees who were nearing retirement. I had warned them, repeatedly, "You need a systems audit." Daniel said, "We're fine." "You need cybersecurity insurance requirements reviewed." Patrick said, "We're a furniture store, not a bank. You store customer payment data, deposits, addresses, financing information." Vanessa said, "Bethany, you always make everything sound scary." No, I made scary things sound boring enough to fix. They ignored me. Then Daniel hired Tyler something from Summit Tech after meeting him at a Chamber of Commerce lunch. Tyler promised to, quote, modernize remote access and streamline back-end workflows for a low flat fee. Low flat fee. 4 words that should make every business owner sweat. Tyler installed a remote access tool, changed administrative credentials, disabled a scheduled backup because it was, quote, slowing performance, and left without documenting configuration. By Monday morning, the database connection failed. By 9:17, Daniel was asking for a real IT person in front of Marcus. By 9:25, after Marcus's conditions, Daniel finally said, "Fine, you're authorized, help us." Marcus did not move. Say the full sentence. Daniel stared at him. What? Say, Marcus. Cole Family Furniture authorizes you to access the affected systems for emergency diagnosis and recovery, with Bethany present as witness. Patrick muttered, "This is ridiculous." Marcus closed his laptop. "Then call Tyler." Daniel's jaw worked. Kim, the finance manager, said quietly, "Daniel, please." That did it. Not me, not Marcus. Payroll. Daniel said, through clenched teeth, "Marcus, Cole Family Furniture authorizes you to access the affected systems for emergency diagnosis and recovery, with Bethany present as witness." Marcus nodded. "Thank you. I'll need temporary admin credentials, network access, any vendor contact information, the last successful backup timestamp, and no one touching anything unless I ask." Patrick said, "You're bossy." Marcus looked at him. "No, I'm employed." I almost smiled. For the next hour, the room changed. Marcus became someone my family had never bothered to meet. Not a quiet boy at the edge of the photo. Not my project. Not Bethany's foster son. A professional. He asked precise questions. He mapped the network. Reviewed logs. Identified failed database connections. Found evidence that the remote access installation had changed firewall rules. Discovered the most recent backup had failed because the scheduled process had been disabled. Located an older backup from Friday morning. Checked whether data was corrupted or encrypted. Verified no obvious ransomware note or exfiltration indicators, though he warned that a full forensic review would be needed. He spoke with the software vendor using terms that made Daniel finally stop interrupting. He had Luis disconnect one workstation from the network. He asked Kim to print manual payroll records from local cached files. He set up a temporary hotspot to isolate one machine. He called his own colleague, with permission, and said, "I need a second set of eyes on a small business recovery. Authorized. I'll send scope." Authorized, documented. Professional. Everything Tyler had not been. My mother stood near the door, watching him like she was seeing a photograph develop in a tray. At 10:40, Marcus said, "Good news. This does not look like data destruction. Bad news. Your environment is fragile and undocumented. We can probably restore operations from backup, but you need emergency vendor support and a full rebuild plan." Daniel said, "Can we process sales today?" "Maybe manually by noon. Fully, not until later." Payroll? Kim can run payroll if we restore access to the accounting workstation first. That should be priority. Patrick said, "What about delivery routes?" Marcus looked at Luis. "Do drivers have printed manifests from Friday?" Luis nodded. "Some. We can reconstruct the rest from cached emails and customer confirmations." Daniel stared. "So we're not dead?" Marcus said, "You are not dead today. But you have been ignoring symptoms for years." No one argued. Because the system was still flashing red. By 11:38, payroll went out, Kim cried. Not loudly. Just one hand over her face while the confirmation loaded. Marcus looked away to give her privacy. By 12:15, delivery routes were reconstructed enough to send trucks. By 1:40, the main store could process transactions manually with controlled procedures. By 3:30, vendor support was re-engaged under an emergency reinstatement fee that made Daniel look physically pained. By 5, the system was partially restored from Friday backup, with Saturday online orders queued manually for verification. Cole Family Furniture did not collapse. Not because Daniel had run it well. Not because Patrick understood operations. Not because Vanessa posted an apology about, quote, temporary technical issues. Because Marcus, the boy they said was not real family, knew how to stop bleeding before rebuilding the body. At 5:22, after 11 hours of crisis work, Marcus leaned back from the conference room table. His eyes were tired. His voice was calm. You need a full incident report, password reset, vendor audit, backup redesign, cybersecurity insurance review, and modernization plan. I can write the emergency summary tonight. Anything beyond that requires a contract. Daniel blinked. A contract? Yes. But you're... He stopped. The whole room heard the word he had almost used, family. Marcus waited. Daniel swallowed. You're Bethany's son. My heart stopped. It was the first time Daniel had ever said it, without the foster fence. Marcus looked at him for a long moment, then said, I am, and professionally, I require a contract. I had to turn away. Not because I was sad, because I was proud enough to shake. I need to pause here for a second. If you have ever seen someone dismissed for years, then watch the room suddenly need their exact skill. You know what Bethany felt that day. It was not revenge in the loud sense. It was the quiet correction of reality. The child they would not include became the adult who understood the system better than anyone with the family name. If this story is hitting close to home, leave a comment and tell me when someone finally had to respect the person they treated like an extra. And if you have not already, subscribe to Ultimate Revenge. The quiet part is over. The contract discussion became its own battle. Daniel wanted a favor. Patrick wanted a discount. Vanessa wanted a family rate, even though she still had not looked Marcus in the eye properly. My mother wanted everyone to stop talking about money because we have had enough stress today. Marcus sat at the conference table and said nothing while they revealed themselves. Daniel said, We appreciate what you did today, but surely you're not going to charge us market rate. Marcus opened his notebook. I already discounted the emergency response because Bethany asked me to come here this morning for unrelated reasons. I said, I did not ask you to work for free. I know, he said. That's why I'm not. Patrick laughed. You're really going to invoice your own family? Marcus looked at him. Patrick, do you consider me your family? Patrick opened his mouth, closed it. Marcus nodded. That hesitation is why the invoice will be standard. Vanessa said softly, Marcus, that's not fair. He turned to her. When I was 15, you made Christmas sweatshirts for every grandchild and told Bethany you didn't order one for me because you weren't sure I'd be around next year. Vanessa went pale. I didn't mean it that way. I know, people rarely mean exclusion the way it lands. The room went silent. My mother sat down slowly. Marcus continued, not cruelly, not loudly. When I was 16, Patrick introduced me to a supplier as Bethany's foster kid and said, he's kind of part of the family. When I was 17, Daniel told me not to be in the business anniversary photo because it was for bloodline family. When I graduated, Elaine said I was lucky Bethany had such a big heart, as if I was charity and not a person. My mother's eyes filled. Marcus. He held up one hand. I'm not saying this to punish you. I'm explaining why you do not get to invoke family pricing from someone you kept outside the family boundary. You can hire me professionally, or you can hire someone else. I had never heard him say it all at once. I knew the incidents, most of them, some I did not. Each one hit like a stone dropped into a bucket. Daniel rubbed his forehead. What do you want? Marcus said, a signed emergency services agreement for today's work, payment within 15 days, and a separate proposal for remediation if you want it. Also, Tyler's access revoked immediately. Patrick muttered, Tyler's going to sue. Marcus said, Tyler should update his resume. I loved him so much in that moment I could barely sit still. They signed. Not happily, but they signed. That evening, Marcus and I left the building together. The old sign outside read Cole Family Furniture in dark green letters. My grandfather's name. My father's life. My brother's. Pride. A business saved by someone they had once refused to seat properly at Thanksgiving. In the parking lot, Marcus exhaled for what felt like the first time all day. Are you okay? I asked. He looked at the sign. I don't know. Fair. They said it today. What? That I'm your son. My throat tightened. Yes. Daniel said it because he needed something. Yes. But he still said it. Yes. Marcus looked at me. Is it bad that part of me wanted to hear it anyway? I stepped closer. No, that's not bad. That's human. His jaw tightened. I hate that it mattered. I know. I have you. Yes. That should be enough. I shook my head. No, I am enough as your mother. But that does not mean their rejection never hurt. He looked away. I wanted them to be proud. I know. That's embarrassing. No, sweetheart, it's not. He had not been called sweetheart by me in public since he was 13. I thought he might object. He did not. He leaned into me for one brief second, then straightened. Do you want dinner? I laughed through tears. Yes. Somewhere expensive. I'm billing today. We went for burgers. Because some victories require fries. The next week changed everything and nothing. Cole Family Furniture hired Marcus under contract, at full rate. Daniel nearly choked, but Kim reminded him that the emergency vendor fee alone was higher than Marcus's first milestone proposal and came with less explanation. Marcus wrote a brutal incident report, professional but brutal. Findings included expired support contract, unauthorized remote access changes, failed backup monitoring, lack of documented disaster recovery plan, weak password policies, insufficient network segmentation, outdated workstations, no formal change management, and leadership decisions that introduced avoidable risk. Leadership decisions. Daniel hated that phrase. I loved it. The report did not mention family history. It did not need to. Marcus recommended immediate remediation. He also recommended engaging a larger firm for long-term managed services because, as he put it, I will not become your permanent emergency button. Good. Excellent. My father read the report from his recliner at home. I brought it to him because he asked. Dad's left hand still trembled from the stroke, but his eyes remained sharp. He read slowly, then looked up. Marcus wrote this? Yes. He knows his stuff. He does. Dad looked ashamed. I should have known that already. I did not rescue him. Yes. He nodded. Bring him by. For what? Dad looked toward the framed photo of the original store opening on the wall, to ask him myself what the business needs, and to apologize. That surprised me. My father was not a man who apologized often. When Marcus came over, Dad struggled to stand. Marcus told him not to. Dad insisted. He held out his hand. Marcus. Mr. Cole. Dad winced slightly. Robert, if you're willing. Marcus shook his hand. Dad took a breath. I owe you an apology. I let the family treat you like you were temporary. That was wrong. You were a child. You deserved better from all of us, including me. Marcus stood very still. Dad continued. Thank you for saving the business. Not because you owed us, because you were skilled enough and decent enough to help anyway. Marcus swallowed. You're welcome. Dad looked at me, then back at Marcus. I'd like your honest opinion about the company. Marcus sat. For 2 hours they talked. Not grandfather and grandson, perhaps. Not yet. But man to man. Professional to founder. Marcus explained systems risk in plain language. Dad asked good questions. Better questions than Daniel had asked all week. When Marcus left, Dad said, he has a better head for the future than my son's. I said yes. Dad smiled sadly. Don't enjoy that too much. I'll try. My mother's apology came badly first, then better. She called and said, I never meant to make Marcus feel unwanted. I said, intent is not the point. She cried. I stayed quiet. 3 days later, she asked if she could come over. Marcus was not there. I did not let her use him as immediate absolution. She sat at my kitchen table, the same table where Marcus had done homework, applied to colleges, repaired laptops, and eaten birthday pie. I found the old Christmas photos, she said. I said nothing. He was always on the end. Yes. Or not there. Yes. She covered her face. I thought I was protecting myself from getting attached in case he left. That was the first honest sentence. I softened slightly. I understand fear. I do not understand making a child pay for it. She nodded, crying. I know. He already knew people could disappear. You did not need to remind him. Mom sobbed then. I let her. Some tears are overdue bills. When she calmed, she said, how do I apologize without asking him to comfort me? That question mattered. You tell him what you did. You tell him it was wrong. You don't explain too much. You don't ask if he forgives you. You change what happens next. She nodded. What happens next? You ask him. The family meeting happened 2 weeks later, not at my parents' house. Marcus chose a neutral place, a private room at a local restaurant. Professional instincts again. Present were me, Marcus, Mom, Dad, Daniel, Patrick, Vanessa, and Kim from the business for the first half, because Marcus wanted business issues separated from family issues. He had an agenda. I almost laughed when he pulled out printed copies. Family had spent years refusing to write him into the program. Now he brought the program. First, business remediation. Second, payment terms. Third, access controls. Fourth, communication boundaries. Fifth, family matter. Optional participation. Daniel looked miserable. Patrick looked defensive. Vanessa looked like she had been crying before arrival. Marcus handled the business section calmly. Kim took notes. Daniel agreed to sign with a managed services firm for long-term support after Marcus completed the emergency stabilization. Patrick was assigned operational documentation tasks. Vanessa was told, gently but firmly, that marketing posts should not announce technical upgrades that had not occurred. Then Kim left. The room changed. Marcus closed the business folder. I'm going to say this once, he said. I am not here to ask for a place in this family. Bethany is my mother. That is settled. I am here because you used the word family last week, when you needed a discount. And I need to clarify that family is not a coupon. My father made a sound that might have been a laugh or a cough. Marcus continued. I am willing to have a different relationship going forward if there is accountability. I am not willing to pretend the past did not happen. Daniel spoke first. I'm sorry. Marcus waited. Daniel looked at me. I raised my eyebrows. He sighed. For telling you not to be in the anniversary photo. For saying family business when I never treated you as part of the family. For asking for a real IT person when you were standing there. Marcus nodded. Thank you. Patrick followed, awkwardly. I'm sorry for calling you kind of part of the family. And foster kid. And for trying to make you invoice less after that. That was cheap. Marcus said, yes it was. Patrick looked stung, then nodded. Yeah. Vanessa cried through hers. I'm sorry for the slideshow, the Christmas sweatshirt, the pictures. I told myself I didn't know how permanent things were, but that was cowardly. You were a child. You were there. I should have included you because you were there. Marcus's expression changed. Just a little. Thank you. Mom went last. Her voice shook. I am sorry for every time I made you feel temporary. The place cards. The stocking. The Easter basket. The church photo. Saying Bethany had a big heart instead of saying we had another child in the family to love. I was afraid to attach, and I made that fear your burden. That was wrong. Marcus looked down. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then he said, I used to think if I became impressive enough, you would stop using foster like a warning label. My mother cried harder. Marcus looked up. I am impressive now. That didn't fix it, so I'm done trying that way. Good. Painful. Good. Dad said quietly, what do you want from us now? Marcus thought before answering. I want no more foster qualifier unless legally relevant. I want Bethany respected as my mother. I want invitations without assumptions, and I want to be free to decline. I want no family discount for professional work. And I want the next family photo not to require Bethany arguing. My father nodded. Done. Daniel nodded too. Patrick mumbled agreement. Vanessa said, done. Mom whispered, done. Marcus said, we'll see. That was fair. The first test came at Thanksgiving. Of course, family dysfunction loves a holiday stage. Mom hosted. For the first time in years, Marcus chose to come. I told him he did not have to. He said, I know, I want to observe the software update. I laughed. You're treating Thanksgiving like a beta test. It has historically had bugs. Fair. When we arrived, there were place cards. I saw them before Marcus did. Elaine. Robert. Daniel. Patrick. Vanessa. Bethany. Marcus. No qualifier. No awkward side table. Marcus's card was between me and Dad. Mom saw me looking. She said nothing. Good. Let the card work. At dinner, my niece asked Marcus about his job. He explained in simple terms. Patrick interrupted once, with a joke about hackers wearing hoodies. Daniel said, let him finish. Progress. After dinner, Vanessa gathered everyone for the photo. My body tensed automatically. Marcus noticed. He touched my sleeve lightly. I'm okay. Vanessa positioned people. Then she said, Marcus, stand by Bethany and Dad. No taking the picture, no stepping out, no edge. The timer beeped. The camera flashed. The photo captured many things. My father, thinner after stroke but smiling. My mother's hand on Marcus's shoulder, tentative but there. Daniel uncomfortable but trying. Patrick looking like he wanted to make a joke but knew better. Vanessa red-eyed. Me holding Marcus's arm because I could. Marcus standing in the center of the Cole family photo for the first time in 11 years. Afterward, Mom handed Marcus a small box. He looked wary. You don't have to open it here, she said quickly. He did anyway. Inside was a brass key ornament, not the same as his old drawer key, but close. Mom said, Bethany told me years ago about your desk drawer key. I should have understood then what it meant to need a safe place. I'm sorry I didn't. This is not to replace it. Just to say, I hope our family can become a safer place than it was. Marcus held the ornament. His face was unreadable. Then he said, Thank you, Elaine. Not Grandma. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Mom looked like she wanted more. To her credit, she did not ask. The business recovered. Under Marcus's remediation plan and the managed services firm he helped them choose, Cole family furniture modernized painfully but successfully. Backups worked. Access was controlled. Payroll had redundancy. Inventory was migrated. Online orders stabilized. Cybersecurity insurance requirements were met. Daniel learned the phrase change management and stopped using Streamline unless someone else was in the room to supervise him. Marcus completed his contract and refused an offer to become permanent technology director. Daniel said, we could pay well. Marcus said, you should. To the person you hire. Patrick asked, why not you? Marcus looked at the old family business sign. Because I spent enough years trying to earn a place here. I don't want my career built inside that wound. I was proud of him. And sad. Both can live in the same chair. They hired someone qualified. Marcus helped interview candidates, billed for it, and then stepped away. But he did attend the company's 60th anniversary event the following spring. That was the public payoff. The event was held in the main showroom, under warm lights, with customers, vendors, employees, and family gathered around dining tables set between furniture displays. There were speeches, old photos, a timeline wall, my father in a chair near the front, emotional and trying not to show it. On the timeline wall, there was a section about modernization. Daniel wanted to call it digital transformation. Marcus suggested operational recovery and modernization, which sounded less like a software salesman's brochure. There was a photo of Marcus at the conference table during the crisis, laptop open, Kim beside him, Luis in the background. Under it, the caption read, When a system failure threatened operations in 2026, Marcus Reed, Bethany Cole's son and a systems engineer, led emergency recovery efforts and helped guide the company into its next chapter. Bethany Cole's son, not foster son, son. I stared at the caption for so long Marcus nudged me. You okay? No. Good no. Big no. He smiled faintly. Dad insisted on speaking that night. He stood slowly with Daniel's help and held the microphone. My father started this company with 2 delivery trucks and a ledger book, he said. I thought for a long time that family businesses were saved by bloodlines. I was wrong. They are saved by loyalty, skill, accountability, and the people who show up when it would be easier not to. He looked at Marcus. My grandson Marcus helped save this business, when we had not always treated him as if it was his to care about. That says more about his character than ours. We are grateful. Grandson. The room clapped. Marcus looked down. I cried openly. Let them see. For once, tears were not weakness. They were witness. After the speech, Marcus stepped outside for air. I followed. He stood near the loading dock where furniture trucks had come and gone for decades. You hate being publicly praised, I said. Yes. Too bad. He laughed softly. I don't know what to do with grandson. You don't have to do anything tonight. He nodded. I liked it. That's allowed. I'm still angry. That's allowed too. He looked at me. Did you ever regret taking me in? The question hurt because children, even grown ones, sometimes return to the oldest fear. I turned fully toward him. Never. Even when family got complicated? Family was already complicated. You made my life bigger. His eyes shone. He nodded once, then said, We found each other. Yes, I said, we did. Years of exclusion do not disappear because of one caption, one speech, or one saved business. I know that. Marcus knows that. My family is still learning that apology is not a doorbell you ring once before entering trust. It is maintenance. Like backups. Like systems. Like family itself. The old brass drawer key now sits in a small frame in Marcus's apartment, next to his college diploma and his first professional certification. The ribbon is faded. The key still barely works. Under it, he placed a label. Private place, first home. When I saw it, I cried. He rolled his eyes and said, You cry a lot now. I earned it. Yes, you did. My mother still sometimes says the wrong thing, but now she corrects herself. Daniel calls Marcus for professional referrals, not free help. Patrick sends him cybersecurity articles he does not understand. Vanessa includes him in group photos without making a performance of it. Dad calls him once a month to ask about the technology world, and then complains that everything has a subscription now. Marcus visits when he wants, declines when he wants. Belongs without auditioning. That is the best ending I could have hoped for. Not perfect inclusion, chosen presence. The final lesson is not that foster children must prove their worth by saving a business. That idea is cruel. No child should have to become useful enough to be loved. Marcus was real family when he arrived with a broken backpack and asked where to put his stuff. He was real family when he stood outside the Thanksgiving photo. He was real family when he had no stocking. He was real family when he wore the brass key around his neck because he needed one drawer in the world no one could take. He was real family before he became impressive. Before the certifications. Before the salary. Before the server crashed. Before Daniel needed him. My family said my foster son wasn't real family. Then he saved the family business. And when the payroll went through, when the deliveries rolled out, when the systems came back online, when the anniversary caption finally called him my son, the truth did not become true for the first time. It became impossible for them to deny. Thank you for staying with me through this story. I know some of you have loved children, stepchildren, foster children, adopted children, nieces, nephews, students, or chosen family members who were treated like they were temporary, extra, or less real, because someone else had a narrow definition of belonging. If Bethany and Marcus's story reached you, I hope you remember that family is not proven by blood alone. It is proven by who stays, who protects, who shows up, who makes room, and who refuses to let a child stand outside the picture. Keep the place card. Keep the key. Keep the truth. And never let anyone tell you the child you love is not real family, just because their love did not arrive through the route they expected. Subscribe to Ultimate Revenge for more stories about quiet women, family betrayal, silent comebacks, and the moment the person they excluded becomes the one who saves everything. So tell me, if your family excluded your foster son for years and then begged him to save the family business during a technology crisis, would you let them call it a family favor? Or would you make them sign the contract and finally say his place out loud?